Hey, welcome back. Business 163, Personal Finance. This is now video 6 in our module on budgeting. And in this particular video, we are going to look at a methodology or a budget method that we call the Pay Yourself First budget, or the Pay Yourself First method. So you can see here from this first title slide, the Pay Yourself First budget. That's a really attractive slogan, isn't it? Pay yourself first. There's something satisfying about that. And what are we talking about? Well, we're talking about the principle that your entire budget is going to be driven first and foremost by your savings, by paying yourself rather than all the other people you're going to end up paying. The first thing is pay yourself. And the whole idea behind this term, pay yourself first, is that for many people, you look at we look at savings. Many people look at savings as the last thing that happens in your budget after you paid everybody else. Then you're going to take whatever's left over and put that into savings. And the principle here instead is, no, the first thing you're going to prioritize is the amount you're going to put in savings, and then everything else that's left over can get spent and paid to other people. Right? So it is very much, from a big principle perspective, a completely different way to prioritize how your income gets divided up when it comes in every month, right? Everything is driven by your savings goals. And this makes this principle ideal for big picture kinds of personalities, the folks who find that whole concept really attractive of paying yourself first. The kinds of folks perhaps who just by nature are more attracted to thinking in terms of the big picture rather than details and crossing T's and dotting I's. And so you see there the third bullet point on this slide. While one of the previous methods we talked about, zero-based, that's ideal for methodical, detail-oriented people. In contrast to that, this method, the Pay Yourself First method, is ideal for non-detail-oriented types of people. Now, I'll be quite honest with you, I'm not the most detail-oriented kind of person by nature. I've sort of forced myself to become that over the years just by nature of the work that I do and the things that have to happen if you're going to be successful teaching college and university classes. But by nature, I realize I'm not really that fascinated with keeping track of the details. Right? There's something very attractive to me of thinking in terms of the big picture. And so this kind of an idea of paying yourself first rather than paying yourself at the very end of the priority list, I find that very attractive myself. Now, returning to the slide, right, you can see here, the focus on paying myself is emotionally more enjoyable than making the first priority, focusing on all the detailed categories of paying other people with most of the other methods we've been talking about, right? The envelope method, the 50-30-20 method, right? Even the zero-based method has less to do about paying yourself and prioritizing your savings for the future, and more to do about keeping track of what you're spending on other places to paying to other people. So that makes this method, in one sense, unique and quite attractive for at least those reasons, right? How do you get started? Well, like all these methods, first you identify what is your monthly after-tax income. What do you bring in home every month? And then next thing you do is you write down your savings goals, okay? How much do you want to save for the future? What are you trying to save for, right? And so all of this is about yourself and paying yourself first. And that's what you are putting away. You're socking that away first. Then, once you've deducted your monthly savings from net income, what you have left is what remains for everything else. And then, of course, you got to figure that out. So the advantages of Pay Yourself First is it prioritizes saving, which is, quite frankly, the desired end goal for most people developing a budget. Most of us developing a budget, we want to increase the level of savings that we're putting away because we realize, especially after having calculated our net worth, we haven't saved enough. We want to change that, right? The other thing about Pay Yourself First is pretty easy to create this, and the method itself doesn't have the requirement of tracking all your expenses. Now, while those are decided advantages of Pay Yourself First, there are also disadvantages from pay yourself first, as you might already be guessing, right? Your head may already gone faster than I can say it. Pay yourself first is not a detailed itemized budgeting method. It doesn't keep track of your expenses, right? It just creates the principle that says, I'm going to prioritize and figure out how much I want to save first, and then I got to deal with everything that's left over. Now, this method may not suit those who are not yet ready to prioritize savings yet. Why wouldn't you want to prioritize savings yet? Well, for instance, for those who are sort of in an urgent place of wanting to pay down too much debt that they owe, right? And that's really the priority for this season. Well, then maybe pay yourself first isn't the most priority method for you. And quite frankly, this method doesn't give you a lot of insight into your spending habits. And quite frankly, it can leave yourself open to overdrafts and bounce checks and those kinds of things because, how do you know just by prioritizing this amount for savings that you've left enough left over for all of the other duties, commitments, and responsibilities that you have to pay for, right? So you can see here, this has a very real and concrete attraction that the other methods really don't provide. And yet, it's difficult to recommend pay yourself first as an absolute, comprehensive, complete budgeting method, right? Nevertheless, it is popular out there. You'll read about it anytime you read about budgeting methods nowadays. And we've provided you some resources. Like all of these major methods, I've given you an additional resources set of pages with videos and articles for you to dive into to learn more about each of these methods in addition to just this particular short little lecture video. So I hope that's helpful. We'll see you in the next lecture.